Well, won't you look at this? You know what they say? New setting, new man, new ideas. There's only one problem with that. It's not the case here. Because it's still the same fucking place I live. It's just on the dirty couch that's never been washed. Yeah, here I am with my bare skin. Only if the camera could see what it's like below the Orion's belt. Okay. Let the space between see the star of this show. Okay, Clint. By the way, I've always found that, was it the Orion's belt in the sky? If you always look in the sky, think of it like a connect the dots. There's always the three dots that are perpendicular, I believe, technically diagonal, perpendicular, whatever the fuck that means. Excuse me. And then there's a random dot out there, probably like if you use your hands or fingers, probably a, Kenny Pickett hand a ways, in terms of your, your depth perception. Because if you're actually out there in space, I'm going to say it's probably like 80 billion Kenny Pickett hands before you get to that random fourth star. But yeah. Welcome to episode 129 of the Off and Beat podcast. And I want to make a few little mini announcements before we really get into the show today. Now, as you see, for one, your boy has been killing it with the bod. They should do an ESPN The Body issue with me. Almost like, hey, I think I could pass by for a swimmer. I'm not going to win any awards regardless if I'm competing against professional women or men or, everything in between. Thomas, choo-choo train. Oh, honey, don't poo on my bear in the pool, even though I'm going to pee in it. Oh, pee on my Tempur-Pedic, baby. Oh! I don't know if the audio is even going to come out good, but fuck it. We're going to find this out. So, but I must start with saying, one, this is the first episode I've actually recorded in over a week and a half. This will probably be out sometime. Recording this March 27th at 2:56 a.m. Yeah, I am actually, for the first time since I believe like 11th grade, I am below 205. As you can see, man, look at these nips. Ooh, it almost makes you smile. I guess you could call it cheese nips. Okay, that's a regurgitated joke. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I feel good about myself, and it's not even about being the most fit, being the most in shape, or anything like that. It really is just about feeling good about yourself. And on top of that, for the podcast, there will be guests in the near future because I have made a small Amazon gift card investment. Thankful for my family for giving me Amazon gift cards for Christmas, and it basically afforded 90% of this profit I just made. Except I can't get the fucking mic stand together. God damn it. It's like, oh, your mic stand doesn't need to come with instructions because only an idiot can put this together. Well, guess what? The pole is going right through the hole because it fits right in. It's kind of like your dick inside of a condom that's let out of your league. There's nothing more awkward than when you go over to a lady's house and she says, don't worry, I got condoms. That's always a weird. I get, hey, better to keep some in the drawer just in case. You know what? Maybe keep a variety of different types of condoms. Don't just assume I'm going to come up there. No pun intended. I may come up there because, my theory is all the guys that say I don't wear condoms is because they're afraid of what if it don't fit right that day? Hey, I guess that's why I don't wear clothes. Overcompensate for my treasure chest of hairy nips. Okay. Treasure chest of hair, except I am a pirate. And I will pirate in her Caribbean and, colonize it. That sounds pretty sketchy. But anyways, I invested into a boom mic. So now I plan on, there's no planning, it will happen. I will start having guests on the podcast. I've done every single episode solo by default, and really I wanted to get pretty decent at it for one, and I think I have gotten decent enough. I think the more you do anything, the better you get, and I'm not going to talk about myself and how quote-unquote great, even though the numbers don't show that video-wise, how great I am at podcasting, but I am very encouraged. I am very happy where it's at, in the progress I've made in this show. Simply when people do podcasts, they actually get more, they actually get a little bit more complacent in life because they think just doing the show and doing all that, like, that's enough. And typically they stop working out, they stop doing this. And actually, ever since I've done this show, I believe it's kind of brought a little bit more of a purpose to my life. Now, Jesus, I'm starting to sound like one of those YouTubers that, even though I'm not a YouTuber, but I sound like one of those people that talk about, I'm just so much different of a person now because, you don't understand how much work it takes to do this. It's like, you do it for an hour, upload it, and then you have someone else edit it. So, not much. But yeah, no, I don't want to come off as someone that's like, you know what? I found my purpose. It's made me. But, this podcast, something I've always wanted to do. And I'm glad I didn't start it right when I actually had thoughts of doing it, which was about probably like early 2020. But I didn't start till mid of 2021. June 8th is the first episode I ever put out. Only reason why I know this is because I had to buy a fucking RSS feed that said it was free, but it wasn't. But it's cool. It's a good investment. And it's, I'm glad I started when I did. Not too early, not too late. Where I was just like, you know what? I'm in a place in my life where I just need to do it. I'll worry about the logistics. I'll worry about the quality and all that shit later. And boy, have I. And I have definitely put quality all aside for everyone involved. Quality, fuck it. But I do feel like I have put out good shit. I really do. And that's not me, plugging my own butthole for pleasure. But it is me inviting the PPP loan. Oh, Jesus. And I will finesse the fuck out of you one day when I make $40 million a year off this shit. If I ever, by the way, I'll just put this. If I ever make $1 million plus a year off this podcast, it is a prove. It all that does is prove that white men haven't made. No, but what it does prove is that this world doesn't make sense. That's definitely what it would prove. But I definitely do think that doing this podcast has improved a lot of things about me. It's really given me something to look towards to at a time in my life where I was kind of getting better, but not really when I first started. And my life I've gone through up and downs personally, but even with some personal things in my life that financially, it's a weird place to be in, a place financially that you haven't been, and I don't mean in a good way, where you haven't been in a long time. It's humbling, but it's also one of the best things that can happen to you. And I do feel like life experience through the past year and a half or two has really made me ready for it. I'm built for this. But it has made me appreciate and realize the things that actually matter to me. Oh, money doesn't matter. I ain't gonna say that because money would be kind of nice right now. Maybe I could actually went on a fucking vacation. You sack of shit. And I stayed. By the way, I stayed because, you know what? I was like, hey, sorry. I took the humble pill and like, you know what? I can't afford to do it. Because, I'm going to work, whatever. And you know what happened? Today, I show up to work, ready to work. Sometimes you go into work and it's a weird thing where you actually are in the mood and you're kind of excited. You're ready, you're prepared, you feel good, you're energized, you're ready for 10 hours plus of work. You're going to make good money in overtime, all that good shit. you get to work. And they have the fucking, well, I'm not going to say they have the fucking, because you know what? They're really in the, I wasn't mad about of what I was told. But I was told, I show up to work, clock in, stretching, the boys getting ready, get that work in. And then, my supervisor comes up to me and says, hey, you're already 50 hours. You have to go. You can't work today. And I wasn't mad that, hey, I understand, labor can't be paying the boy too much. I get it. But my thing is, this is actually the first time it's happened in this job, but this has happened in other jobs, which goes to show your boy is a worker. Oh, what are you? You're just an employee of life, huh? That's all you are, is a worker. It's like, yeah, I make money. While you're caught up in your self-obsession of entrepreneurship where you want to shit on people that are going to eventually work for you, I find that very ironic. What does that say to you about how you treat your employees? Is that what you view them as just people who are just workers? Well, without those just workers, entrepreneur, you ain't shit. You have no one to actually make your business and your profit as you obsess over your profit and your margins and all that. Without these quote-unquote workers that you deem as a less than applicable quality in life to fulfill a personal prophecy where you don't really actually, you're not Jeff Bezos. You're not actually changing the world. You're literally your business. This world will be the same with or without it. And all it is for personal profit, and that's okay. But don't say and act like you're fucking changing the world. You didn't create Microsoft. You have a leather skin business. You have a rug business. You know how many rugs are in the fucking world? You know how many rugs people buy in their lives? Maybe a couple. You're not fucking Home Depot. You're not changing the landscape, literally. You're not changing the hardware market. You don't have competition with Lowe's where your prices actually be decent. Wait, like, you're not creating a freaking distribution center that changes the way distribution works. You're not changing the Beyond Meat. You're not changing the meat industry. You're not changing how things work. You're just creating a business that, hey, if you like hats, we got hats. You know what I mean? Fucking, you could go to the department store and buy fucking random hats that they make. I can go and get custom-made hats with my name on it and my penis. All right? And you want to sit here because you create hats with the number 22 on it and think that you're changing the world and call yourself an entrepreneur? Like, you own a fucking kiosk center at the mall. Fucking calm yourself. All right? But, yes, I'm a hard worker. And my thing is, you guys have all my information. You have my social security. You have my background check. You have my lack of criminal record. You have my phone number. Just call me. Companies have your employers have no problem when you are running 5 minutes past the time that you're not really required to be there, but it's just highly recommended to make the start of your shift easier, even though you're not really required to be there. But hey, when you're 5 minutes past that, it's, hey guys, where you at? But when you show up on time, ready to work your ass, your hours are in the system, your times are in the system. They know how many hours you're at before you show up to work, and they see, hey, this guy comes to work today. Do we want this guy to work today? If we don't, how about we give the guy a call so he doesn't have to detour his whole day? So he doesn't have to plan his day to come to work. Because I don't know if you guys know, but when you go to work, you're planning your day. You take, as someone that takes great pride in what they do, anything they do, I prepare. Not for this podcast, but everything else that I actually give a shit about. I prepare for dates, even when there's no reason to prepare for dates. All right? Preparing for a date is really nonsensical when you really want to break it down. It kind of brings out the spontaneity. But as someone that freezes up when a human being is there, and is so worried about what they're going to talk about, especially when the other person always expects you to fucking do everything, which in today's day in society, I'm assuming, haven't been on a date in quite some time, but I know the jizz, alright? It is what it is. And my thing is, you have my phone number. It's convenient. You have emergency numbers. You have my contact numbers, my emergency contact. Shoot me a text. Call me. Tell me to go fuck myself. And be like, hey, you're not coming to work today. And if you do, you're not clocking in. Alright? This stuff's not hard. Because you would require me. Because I also look like this. If I'm scheduled to work and I don't come to work, would you guys write me up? Would an employer write you up if you're scheduled to come to work, but they know they're not going to let you work that day, but the fact you didn't come to work and didn't give a heads up, no call, no show, even though they didn't want you to work or they're not going to let you work, are you still technically in the wrong? I don't know. All I'm asking is, I think and because this isn't the first time it's happened at him, but the first time here. And again, I wasn't that mad about it. I was like, oh, all right, cool. But then as I was riding home, I was like, I could have planned my day different, working on some personal stuff or whatever. But hey, you know what? Fuck me. But yes. Fuck me. Oh, by the way, this is the Off and Beat podcast with Clint Nelson. In case I forgot to mention. I don't remember if I mentioned, but now I'm going to mention. But yes, there will be, going back to the origin of all this, there will be guests on the pods. There will be guests. It's not going to be every episode, but whenever I can, once I figure out this fucking boom mic stand that I feel like an 8-year-old could figure out, but your boy is so inept that I actually got so angry that I actually punched something and I bled my small right pinky hand. Actually, it's just the pinky. I was thinking my toe, like my pinky toe, because it's the smallest one. But I don't think that's the correct term. But for your hand, it's actually called the pinky. Like, Austin Power, and I'm a gold member. She took my money and sucked some titties. But yes, I'm very excited. I will say, I guess we're getting a little inside pod here. I do wonder if one thing I worry about because of the way, based off things I know, I speculate. I'm not going to assume, and I don't even think it's that big. It doesn't change how I'm going to operate my daily life. But I do think I am on the lower end of in terms of severity. I think it's very light. I do think I'm kind of on the spectrum a little bit. I think to be able to talk by yourself to yourself and conversate with yourself, you do have to, I wouldn't say you do, but I think typically there's something about, there has to be something that's considered off, quote unquote, in society. And that's what we consider people with disabilities and sorts like that. And I do think I have a form of autism, maybe a little Asperger's in some ways. And I actually think it's a good quality for me personally. I could be wrong on that. Maybe I'm highly projecting my own. Project these nuts on my own, baby. But I do, one thing I do, I am curious because I don't really want to do interviews. I just kind of want to have someone in here or have someone wherever, and I'll go to them and come to me, whatever works. Like, I want to be able, I kind of like doing podcast. I want to try doing podcasts in different environments, not just in the corner of my room where I hate myself. I like carrying the mic, but actually in this case, I'll have the boom mic over, whatever. I do wonder as an interviewer or even as a co-host leading a podcast, how that dynamic works. Because when I first started doing podcasts with my friend, shout out to Kevin, who suffered through my over talking of him, and not really over talking of him, but looking back, like it was like the podcasts are so bad because I was actually so uber prepared, And it was more like there wasn't really a back and forth. It was really just like you talk, then I talk, because we didn't know what that we were doing. But one thing that I do think I'd be different now about it, I think it'll be better, obviously. But do I want to do more of an interview? Do I want to have like just someone come on and be like a co-host, a guest, and where I talk about some shit and we talk about some shit and quote unquote vibe. Oh, we're just vibing. It's like, I don't really care to vibe, but I do care to see what's under your vibe. Vibe me, baby. Turn around and just cuck me, baby. I also don't want to use my podcast. One thing, one thing I do worry, not right now, because no one listens enough there's not enough people that listen or watch this for me to even, this is me really, believing it before it's actually happened. I do think if someone wants to come on the podcast, I do think it's because they either like me as a person and they're doing it as a favor to me, or they just want to have fun and shit. One thing I do worry, if this podcast ever gets an ounce of anything of popularity and shit like that, I do wonder when people start asking to come on the show that aren't like people I know like that, because they have some maniacal interests, or they have some what's the term I'm looking for? When they have some motivation that's different. When they have some quote unquote business purpose. I hate when people collaborate for business purposes. If both people are fine with it, that's fine. But when someone reaches out to you and says, I think it would be good for business for me to come on the show. I think it'd be good for business if you came on my show. And it's like, I don't do this for business, for one. Do I hope one day I can make this a marketable business? Sure. But I don't think having every move you make, every guest you have on, have this underlying, oh, this is what's going to get me more of this and that and that and that. Like, that simply will be an effect of things you do. But I also don't want people come on my show to boost their own portfolio status. I don't want a Blue Jasmine coming on the show and I wouldn't have a type of girl like that anyways, but having a Blue Jasmine come on my quote-unquote Fresh and Fit, or come on my Mediocre Tour, and that one podcast where she talked about finesse men and all that shit, or Brittany Renner's, and I'm not using like the, gold digger host shit as an example, but someone that's like kind of, whatever, like normal person, maybe a following on Instagram, but then they blow up because they go on a big podcast and they get elevated doing that thing. I don't really want to sit here and promote that shit, for one. But I also don't want someone's like, the only reason why I want to come on your show is because you have a lot of listeners, you have a lot of followers, and this is good for my brand. If you like me as a person, you like the show, that's one thing. But there are people that just look at the numbers, look how big your show is, and say, I want to go on that because of that. And me personally, I don't want that. I want someone that wants me for me. No, but I do want someone, for me, the biggest thing about anything in my life, and I really think always kind of has been this way, is genuineness. I do think that genuineness is why I want the basis pod. Well, we fuck off. We talk about bullshit. We talk about, getting our anal plugged for breakfast. But, you got to let the toaster scramble, baby. Extra set and burnt. By the way, on toasters, the little knob that you turn all the way down is lightly toasted, all the way up and it's darkly toasted. That thing is very inconsistent. And the bagel, like, they have the random buttons for bagels and this, like, do you want to, you want to do flip, you want to flip the bagels? Like, all right, then if I put the bagel, does exactly what the bagel says, then it burns the wrong side. It doesn't even burn the right side. I guess to say it doesn't cook. Then the other part's soggy, then you have to throw the bagel away, and you're like, fuck me. Uno reverse, I guess. Let the CC, and I'm not talking about cream cheese. I'm talking about, fuck me. But yeah. Next time I do need to put the camera closer. I'm really holding the mic a certain way because the cord connecting it to the audio is very flimsy. Oh, Jesus. Today's sponsor, orange cream, baby. Let me take a sip of this. But yeah, look, genuineness is something that's very important to me. Not to get too sentimental here. I'm not that type of guy. But your boy looking good, so I can afford to be vulnerable. Yeah, when you're ugly, you can't be vulnerable. But now that your boy's body's tight, whitey, and, well, always been whitey, but now it's pretty tighty. Next thing you know, I'm going to put your girl nighty. Oh, jeez. Well, Bill Cosby, huge inspiration. But Deshaun Watson, even a bigger one. Nothing like being rewarded with 22 plus allegations. I think there's actually being another one added because I guess the extra allegations like, oh, $230 million guaranteed. I think I had an incident. No, but nothing like we have. It just goes to show that society, we don't really care about things the way we say we do. We always say protecting this, that, and then there's the opposite extreme spectrum where this, that, and the other. Think about it like this. Some guy, Deshaun Watson is the biggest. This dude has benefited most by the most fucked up situation of his life. And I'm not talking about whether he's guilty or innocent. Here's what I'm saying. The dude last year did not play a single minute. Now, he's ready to play like, hey, he was technically on the roster, and he was paid every single penny. All of his money, because they couldn't suspend him and all this shit. It was basically up to the Texans what to do. Hey, you either play him, or you can make him inactive, but he's getting his money. And he got all of his money last year without playing. So he preserved a year in his body, got paid. Then this man's quote unquote, all right, so he said, yeah, he got paid, but you know what? There's some shit coming down the pipeline. He's either going to be punished, blah, blah, blah. He may still get suspended by the NFL, whatever. But the dude is rewarded with a 5-year, $230 million guaranteed contract. The biggest guaranteed contract in history. Fully guaranteed. Of all the people to be guaranteed a contract, a guy who has all this shit he's been accused of and has dealt with and all this shit, this is the guy we give a $230 million contract to. I think it just kind of goes to show we don't really care about a lot of this shit we say we do. And I don't know if we should, to be honest. I think there's certain roles in society that I don't think it matters. You could try to translate what if a guy at your job had the same exact thing where he's getting 22 plus lawsuits. One, you probably wouldn't even know about it because he would probably just stop showing up to work. Because guess what? If some guy's 22 accusations and all this shit, there's no real civil court. You're being held in something. You're being held in jail or something with some type of crazy bond that you can't afford. Deshaun Watson wasn't even brought in jail or nothing like that. And I'm not going to speak on whatever, but I just found it fascinating. The man's quote-unquote punishment for all of this is a $230 million fully guaranteed contract. Gotta love it. Oh, gotta love it. That should be the new name of the podcast. Gotta love it. But yeah, look, I do think I am curious in how I'll be with the guest, I'm literally talking on a podcast about my worries about having guests. Because I wonder if I'm, based off my experience on dates and stuff, I think I'm a good date for the most part when I'm comfortable, when I'm feeling good about myself and shit. When I honestly, the less I give a fuck about what the other person thinks, for better or worse, typically the date goes amazing. It's when I actually care. So yeah, I know you feel that one. It's I do wonder, because I'm gonna start having friends, and I may even start asking random people. I kind of want. I know I'm not gonna be the first podcast I ever do. I kind of want to just interview and co-host and have random people that like literally someone I can meet that day. If I'm at a coffee shop and I see someone I find interesting or run into someone that I conversate with and be like, you know what, would you like to actually come on my podcast? They're not famous. I'm not famous. I can't tell you how many views. I can't tell you what this will do for your social media. But would you just like to come on a podcast and talk to a random stranger? And I wonder how that dynamic actually works. Because literally you will be seeing the first time someone actually meets a stranger with no Wikipedia page, with no knowledge to go out before. Because, yeah, there are podcasts where someone has someone on that they've never met before technically, but they're aware of them typically. But I want to have someone that I have no relationship prior with, no connection or nothing. And literally you will see on screen being free of myself. And I wonder if that will actually help me develop as a person. Because I don't really care to ask, hey, how are you? How's your day? Where are you from? Like, I don't really, like, this isn't a biography. I'm not here. I want to talk to you about something, or we could bullshit about shit. But I want to get to know what you're about based off funny, interesting, maybe real conversations we have, you know? I do think I want to be, my goal, and this wasn't my original goal, like, first, when I started doing this, my biggest thing was just like, I want to get shit off my chest. I want to have fun. I want to become a respectable, fairly big podcaster, if we're going to be honest. And I wanted an excuse to have people actually want to actually be a part of something. You know, I wanted to bring anyone is simply involved. I'm not, now that I can have guests with a boom mic and shit and anyone could come on, maybe have a podcast with 3 or 4 of my boys, maybe 3 or 4 girls, maybe have one of those fresh and fit type of shit where I just look at them like, what the fuck is wrong with you? Maybe we have an orgy off screen, of course, but you see what happens beforehand. Forget after dark. This is before dark. Yeah, and I still want to put out as many episodes, but I want to keep it interesting. I don't want to be pigeonholed as a guy who is just a solo podcaster. I want to be able to do both. I feel like I've done 120, now this will be 129 episodes of doing solo. And I've done it in 10 months. A little over, not even, like 9.5 months. I've put over 120, it'll be over 129 episodes, whatever. Like, the consistency I've proven to myself, and I've proven to my fans that I have recently gained. It's not a lot, but it's something. It's something to be something when I want to be the biggest no-name podcaster in the world. And I don't want to rely on celebrities. I want to be able, when you see me, you tune in. When you see me, regardless if it's some person you met before, because I want to put people in, quote unquote, and I hate this term, but everyday life, everyday people who I actually find more interesting than sometimes celebrities, because I feel like everyday life people actually, you know, they're actually in the economic range, realistic. They're in the same life age range as I am. You know, my mid-20s, I have friends early, mid, late 20s. I want to be able to interview people that are 50 years old. Maybe even have my parents on. Maybe have my family on. But, you know, I do worry about, I don't even think my family would want to come on here. Because honestly, that would be the most terrifying episode to do. Because I don't know what they're comfortable putting out. And since I don't edit these podcasts, I like full beginning to end, all that shit. I don't know what they would be comfortable putting out. That's why I don't really talk about my family unless it's in a positive light. Not that I have anything negative to say, but you know, I don't want to be, my family this. It's like, I'm not going to be that dude. I feel like that shit's kind of weak. Even if you do have real issues with your family, it's like, unless it's provoked in public, I don't really see need to put it out there like that. But I do, like, if I had a family podcast, I think they're proud if this thing ever became some stuff. I don't know if my mom wants me to sit there and interview her and talk about her youth. You know, I don't know if my dad wants to come on here and, Talk about, remember that time I chased you down the hill because you were a little bitch? Good times. Why'd you quit baseball? But no, seriously, like, and my brother and my sister, like, I don't, I would be more worried, like, I would be more nervous doing that, and that would put a lot of pressure on me because I would feel pressure to put the best parts out there of them. And I don't know if I always bring that out. I'm always curious. Like, I've seen other podcasts or bigger podcasts. Like Ethan Klein has had his parents. I don't really care for Ethan Klein, but I think it would be cool. Like if my parents wanted to, my family, like, of course I would. It's just I'll be worried about putting them out there. If there would be public slander and shit like that, because I can handle. Look, people are going to make, people say I'm an idiot. All right, cool. Like, I've been called idiot my whole life. The Simpsons. I guess you would say I'm the Bart of my family. You say I'm barting up the wrong tree. No, okay, come on. But I do find myself in a place where I want to be able to I still want to put out a lot of episodes. My belief is volume as of right now. When you're no name per se, and you don't do crazy editing because you don't have the stuff yet, your best bet is to just do it as much as you possibly can, and don't put out bullshit. Like, be yourself, put out real shit, take time. Like, I haven't recorded an episode in over a week. I've been busy working, and even when I've technically had time, I've almost made an extra emphasis because I had a couple banked episodes. I want to start making them more. I don't want to like bank an episode, put it out 6 days later, like maybe a day or two at most. I want to put it out fresh because I want to start talking about current topics, be more current with it. I don't want to be one where you record an episode a month and a half later. I know there's big podcasters that do that. And they just bank episodes and they just look as a check with sponsors and shit. And I get it. You have sponsors, and if you have a busy schedule, wife and like, I'm not against banking episodes, but then you can tell when you listen to the episode, they purposely avoid current type of things because they just talk about themselves and stories because that's the only thing that they could really age well. They could put out a month later where it makes sense. Like, I couldn't sit here and talk about, I don't know, trying to think of something like, I couldn't sit here and talk about, Pete Davidson and Kanye in this episode and then put out 2 months later or put out like a month later, and they haven't even had a thing in a month. They haven't talked or nothing. They haven't been, neither one have been in the news for nothing. Like, it would be like, all right, well, I could definitely tell and make the consumer tune out. But I do want to have this be a versatile. I don't want to be pigeonholed, but I do want to think about, I don't want to be just a general. I want to be an open podcast where I don't pigeonhole myself, but I do want to, when someone thinks about this podcast, it's in the name. I don't want to be off the beaten path, but where does the name often beat? I know the origin of it. I've told you guys before. I used to be off the beat and kind of correlate that with my personality, and I think it's fitting. But what's the niche? I'm very careful not to call it a comedy podcast because I think I'm not a comedian by any means. I think I'm funny and corny. I think I'm more corny than funny. But I think that's my appeal. I'm a corny guy on the Cobb, which is the county I used to live and kind of still do. All right, I just revealed my location. So don't send me your location unless it's me locating these balls in your mouth. Clean shaven, baby. By the way, I did shave my face. I can't shave my face when I'm with you because of my rolls. Honey roll. But yeah, it's, man, it's, I'm more curious. Not like, Megan Thee Stallion type of curious, but, I am fascinated with something in that I do wonder, do I want to, like, what's my niche? What is a niche? They always say the biggest thing in YouTube specifically, but really even podcasts, like, what's your niche? Because there's so many people out there that are just shooting the shit. And this podcast is just me, more times than not, like, just getting on the mic, and I'll typically not know what I'm going to talk about. And then once I start talking, one thing leads to another. That's how my mind works. And typically, those are the best episodes. Sometimes it can be serious. Sometimes it's just bullshitting. If you listen to my first episode compared to this or any of my recently themed episodes, I've experimented with some shit. And I'm actually I'm starting to find a sweet spot. I really do. But I don't, and I wonder if I don't have a niche. Is it because I'm not really putting the effort or time in? And I think it's because I don't give a fuck. I really don't. I used to think when I started this, I thought sports would be a really big factor because I love sports. I always have. I rarely ever talk about sports. I rarely ever do. Do I keep track with sports? Yeah, like on a daily, I'll keep track with stories. I'll watch Undisputed clips. I'll watch this. I keep up with shit. I know what's going on. I don't really watch the games because most of the time I'm at work and shit, but sports used to be such a vital part of my life. And I almost I have no real attachment to sports anymore. But I care about it, if that makes sense. It's like a ex-girlfriend you love. But you're okay not being with her. It's like an ex-girlfriend that you still have a strong affection and respect for everything it is and everything it's done for you and everything it's impacted you. But you're okay with the fact that, as of right now, I prefer anal. That's like my fourth anal reference. What's with me and anal? I don't know. Hey, guys, don't get too anal about it. Okay. It's always fun when people say, don't get anal about it. It's like, well, what if they actually do enjoy being anal? So you say, hey, don't be too happy about it. But, no. I would say this is a storytelling podcast with I would say it's a bitching and moaning, ranting, storytelling, corny puns within it all podcast. That's pretty simple, right? I don't know why it's not hidden. But I do think, I just want someone my goal is I want people to listen, and I'm careful about, I don't want it just to be escapism, because I want people to be able to find, I think more people, I know this, oh Jesus, this is going to sound arrogant as fuck coming from someone like me who's quote unquote in the eyes of many a quote unquote nobody, and I still hate that term, but I get it, is that I do feel like a lot of people believe a lot of the shit I'm saying, all my rants, bitching about this and that. They've at least thought it, even if they haven't gone that deep with it. They're like, you know what? People that park in front of stores that aren't handicapped, they are assholes. Hey, you know what? The guy at Culver, it's funny how I remember my own rants. Talk about how self-into myself I am. The guy at Culver's who calls his girlfriend when he gets up there like, hey, baby, what do you want? Instead of having a good fucking idea what they want. Saying lingerie, highly overrated. Yeah, I think a lot of guys, a lot of people, a lot of women agree with me on a lot of this shit. And it may be something like, you know what? I didn't think of that. I never thought it was that serious, because I take the stuff that's not that serious and make it a little bit more serious. Like decaf coffee, my most recent one. It's like, yeah, decaf coffee is really stupid. Even the people that drink decaf coffee and tea and all that shit. It's really dumb. All right. But it makes you think. And that's the type of shit I want. I want people when they tune in be like, I wonder what he's got to say today. That's it. Nothing crazy. Like, you know what? Maybe that's why I put the timestamps. I clarify it for you guys. This is a terrible podcast. I'm literally talking about my podcast within a podcast. Fuck Inside Baseball. It's inside the podcast, baby. And you know what they say, if you want to know someone that has nothing to say, it's when they talk about themselves the most. It's like, but we all talk about ourselves. If you're doing a solo podcast, by default, it's weird if you don't talk about yourself because you're disconnecting yourself from your thoughts and you're not admitting that you have bias and shit. So however you want to fucking digress it, however you want to break it down, however you want to make yourself feel better, we all talk about ourselves. It's not the worst thing in the world. It's when you talk about yourself and think that that's the only self that matters and forget the your. Let that sink in. But I'm considerate. I do the timestamps for you guys. Okay. Anyways. The future of the podcast, right? The future of this podcast. It's going to be a mixture. And I'll make sure for you guys, when I start having guests, I will put their names or whatever alias they want to put out there, wherever people are comfortable. And I will have co-host and shit. Maybe I will do more standard interview, depending on the type of guest, what they're comfortable with, whatever. You know, I'm a very flexible guy. And I will tell you immediately the next episode my thoughts on that podcast. And if we had sex or not. I mean, because that's the only thing people give a shit about. Oh, I bet they fucked. It's like, and even if we did, is it wrong? Like, am I, you know, people say like, oh, you know, people try to say that chivalry is basically a form of paying for sex, right? Like chivalry, like, oh, taking a girl out on a date, paying for dates. If you go on 3 dates and pay, you spend a couple $100 for sex. It's really no different than prostitution, except I would say it's a lot different. But I get the sentiment. Like I've gone back and forth in the past, but really I've come to like, you know what? If you ask a girl out 3 times, you can't be mad if she didn't have sex with you the first couple times because you still kept taking her on dates and you voluntarily paid for something that she obviously didn't want to give you. You know, they say a girl knows if she's gonna sleep with you within like the first 15 minutes of interaction with you, if she will ever sleep with you. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. Obviously, you know, people, oh, you know, we were friends for 3 years and I never knew. And I was with this guy and that guy. And then somehow it was just a natural connection. It took me getting banged by 8 guys to realize, you know what? This guy's been here to hold my hand through all these breakups. And he's never pressured me. No, but, you know. Like, you know, I not everything's instantaneous, and probably ones that aren't the most instantaneous probably have the most longevity, and there's probably real genuineness there. That's why, like, it is good to be friends with someone before dating. Like, you typically have a better understanding, a different respect level. You understand someone's boundaries more. You're not into the impress of over-affectionate to prove something. You're not into the obsessiveness and feeling like you gotta learn someone in 3 months before, hey, what are we now? It's like, you know. It kind of takes the fun out of it, but it also makes you more relaxed. And there's shit. What was I talking about? But yeah, shit. What the fuck, Clint? Whatever. Fuck me. Oh, but yeah. Oh yeah. If I have guests on this podcast, especially with ladies. And I bring them on, and I'm not someone to do this anyway. But I'm sure there are guys that try to use their podcast as a way to get girls to talk to them and shit. Even though, you know, I can do it by myself. The podcast would just make it a little bit easier. Who needs a big dick when you got a not so big podcast, but it's got potential. Girls always love guys with potential and never actually follow through on their own potential. I'm that guy. No, but I've actually done shit, but it's cool. Fuck me. Show up on time even when you don't need me, but it's cool. I'm always on time. Then you send me home so I don't get overtime. on overtime. You work too many hours a week because they told me, hey, you're at 50 hours. I'm like, no, Dan, I was at 45. And then as I'm driving, I'm like, wait, I did work. I did work the extra shift. I did work 50. That's how you know you work too much. When you don't even really pay attention to your own hours, you're just like, fuck it. I need the money. But what is that at? I don't know what this is. But no, is it a form of like when you take a girl on a date and pay for money, you're hanging out with her, you're paying money to do this, and you're volunteering, all that shit? Is that same if I were to use this podcast? I'm going to use me as an example because I'm a guy with a podcast. I can do this. I'm only one of a few white men in the world with a podcast that thinks people give a fuck what he has to say. And that's what we do in the city, in New York City. Fuck Baton Rouge. That's a John Mayer reference. It's been a long night in New York City. I fucked your bitch in Baton Rouge. But yeah, it's if I were to use my podcast to bring girls on, kind of like Fresh and Fit style, where they have a bunch of girls on and then they fuck at least one or two of them after the show. After dark. $. Thank you for the $. All right, Clint. Hey, it was there for the taking. TY, thank you. You and I without the TY. You and I without the thank you, bitch. No, but if someone uses, for example, if I were to use this podcast as an example, the Lair girls and all this shit, give them a platform, since that's what we're always obsessed with. Like, I would hardly call this a platform. More of a, hey, it's a preview showing. If anyone wants to come to this middle school art gallery show, it'd be kind of weird if someone that didn't have a kid in this middle school just walked in, like a grown-ass 40-year-old dude, walking through an art gallery looking at kids' art, but he doesn't have a kid at the school, doesn't have any relation to a teacher there. It's like, no, I'm just here for the art. At an 8th grade art gallery show, you're here for the art? Interesting. If someone's not my friend or shit, it would make no sense for them to be on this podcast other than one to fuck me, I would assume. But if someone were to use their podcast as a way to lure, as a way to have an excuse for someone to kind of, where if without the video, without the podcast, without having something to put out for people to listen or watch them, would they be there? Right? Maybe, maybe not. But is it a form of, hey, you gotta, is it a, shit, well, what am I know what I'm trying to say, but I'm trying to think of a way it makes sense. I think you guys know what I'm trying to say. You're just like, God damn it, Clint, get to the fucking point. Would it be really a form of that? Like taking girl on dates, where I'm basically using this with the intention of, hey, I didn't, it's kind of like Deshaun Watson flying these personal masseuses out. Like, I didn't bring you here just to massage my back. Like, I'm literally in Texas. You don't think Texas has professional masseuses? I literally play for an NFL team where they have professional masseuse, professional physical therapists, professional everything. I make 30 plus, 40 plus million a year. Even then, you think I'm flying you out here for $5K to massage my back dimples for 45 minutes and get a Swedish massage on my upper back? The fuck? What if I start Deshaun Watson it on this podcast? Like, after the podcast, like, hey, I didn't bring you here just to, ask you about your life experience without a dad. That's not what I brought you here for. I didn't bring you here to actually get your view on the oppression of women. I didn't bring you over here to, actually hear your views on feminism and suffer through that for 40 minutes. It's like, no, I brought you here to combat, build sexual tension, and then let it carry over to the bedroom, baby. Come on, baby. Nah, But honestly, when you look at it that way, when dudes try, oh, I pay for this, like, well, if you continuously take someone out and pay for something, and they haven't, I hate to use reward because I guess it should never be an expectation, but at the same time, if she probably doesn't sleep with you after a certain amount, she's probably not really that into you. Because I'm going to be honest with you, someone's into you and they want to fuck you, they will. I mean, I don't know how. I know we live in this fancy type of shit where it's like, you know what? Sometimes time builds. It's like, you know what? You wait too long, some guy else is going to be in there like, you don't have to wait with me. If you're going to waste your time with me. Fuck that waste, man. I'll give you more life over here. All right. Get your shit together and fuck me already. Talk about a blimp on the radar. Okay. But, you know, honestly, I look like if your whole intention of going on a date with someone is just to eventually have sex with them, if they're going to have sex with you, you don't really have to take them out to dinner. They were going to have sex with you without doing all that. Now, you may have to do a little bit of this and that if they're a decent human being. You know, maybe they're not whores, but, you know. It's like, you know, by the Rose is a shitty person. I mean, I get it. Hey, man, you got to leave that ugly wannabe dude for Leo. Like, I get it. But she said, I would rather be his whore than your wife. That's hurtful, man. Like, you know, you want to talk about hurtful. But goddamn. She's telling the truth. It's probably the most honest thing, one of the most honest things ever said in a movie. And I doubt all of that took place on a Titanic boat while everything's falling apart. The ship is sinking. You're in the middle where it's 18 degrees out in the freezing water, wherever the fuck the iceberg happened. I doubt in the midst of all that, she's like, you know what? I need to tell you what I really feel. You know what? I'd rather be his whore than your wife. He's like, you know, this is not the greatest timing to hurt me. You're going to make me suicidal on a ship where it's deserving to be suicidal. You know, it's almost, not to bring something way too serious because they're both true story, but like 9/11, when if you're like at the top building, that's why you saw all those people jumping off and stuff, because they're like, you know what? I'll just take matters in my own hands and jump off, you know? Because, you know, you don't want to. It's weird seeing another plane coming out. I don't know. Don't want to get too much into that. But yeah, look. I would rather be his whore than your wife. Amen. But see, he did all the right things. Took her on 1 million dates. I think they were engaged. Maybe they got married. Took her on this cruise Titanic ship. Boy, that was a Titanic mistake. And Jack just met her on the boat and said, come down to this car with me. And I'll show you I'm the jack of all trades. Okay, Clint. And let's just say something arose. Oh, Jesus. Okay. And I'll show you something. And I'll make your Titanic sink. Okay. That didn't even make sense. I should probably make more of the... Oh, don't make my Titanic cock sink in your crushy vagina. Yeah. They probably didn't even shower back in the day. So, yeah. Sea salt, baby. Let the wound salt it. And she just let that man die. Not to bring up the past. But okay. But look, honestly, I also look at you like, all right, man, like, how much, like, what's your price? I would say, if you're not a guy with crazy amount of means, you got to have a price of how much money you're willing to spend and how much of a quote-unquote investment. I hate to say that like that, but anything's an investment. It sounds bad. It's not literally you're looking at someone's a dollar sign, but things take dollar signs, all right? You got to do shit most of the time. You get to a certain age. It's like, yeah, you know what? Sometimes even going to the park, you have to get there somehow. You're probably spending gas money. All right? Maybe you have to pick them up. That's extra gas money. Man, you know what? You make a little picnic. Bring a sandwich. That food that you made, sandwich you brought wasn't free. There's a profit to everything. Your time. Right? What are you going to do? Not go get a snow cone across the street? Like, everything has a price, and that's okay. My thing is, you as a dude, or anyone that's paying for dates and stuff, you got to put a price like, all right, once I get to this amount, maybe reduce to the places you go. Maybe go to Chili's instead of, PF Chang's. Reduce the gas drive, reduce the clothes you have to get to go on to these places if there's a dress code. Put a price where it's like, you know what? For this person, I'm not going past this amount. And if I get past that amount and there's been no progress made to go below the Orion's belt, then you know what? There's your answer. It's like Chris Tucker. My dad used to say, money talks, shit walks. And if the money's not talking to her, let that shit walk. All right? There's plenty of girls that will do it for less. Now, guys, you can find girls that pay dates for you. Guilt them and be like, oh, yeah? Fuck you. You know what? If you want to hang out with me, pay for me, bitch. And she's like, ooh, I like that. Then she pays for you like, you bum-ass bitch. Just keep treating someone like shit when they're the ones paying for everything. It always works. But yeah, honestly, my thing, right? And I will always subscribe to this, is that you should never take someone out with the expectation that it's going to lead to X, Y, or Z. Obviously, first dates and stuff I'm talking about. When you first get to know that stage. Not when you're together. When you're together. If it's my birthday, yeah, I'm expecting it. And you know what it is. I'm expecting it. Don't say you're tired and had a long day at work. It's like, you know what? I've had a long 360 plus days of dealing with you. The least you can do is reward the boy, even if you're going to break up with me tomorrow. At least give me one last chance to fuck up your life. Let me impregnate those lips, baby. Oh, baby. Oh. Talk about careless whispers. We could have been so good together, but then I impregnated your sister. Yeah. But no, seriously. I just think that when you decide, like, it's okay to say, like, oh man, I want to fuck this girl. Like, nothing wrong with that. But you gotta draw that line when it's not happening. If it's not happening, it's not happening. Cut it off. And if she wants to come back and be like, you know what? I want to hang out. I'll cook for you. And that's when you know you're in. So, future of this podcast. Bring the ladies over here. Deshaun Watson 2.0, baby. All right, guys. Hopefully, love the new bod. Love the future of this podcast. I'm excited for it. I'm excited to see the growth. The biggest thing is continue growing what you're doing. All right, guys. That's episode 129 of the Off the Beat podcast. Don't forget to suck some titties. I have no clue what the title of this is going to be. But if you're going to waste your time with me. Honestly. All right, guys. Have a great day whenever this is posted. Follow the podcast on all apps, too. Yeah. The usual. Oh, Jesus. Ugh.